What's up, y'all? It's Kobe Scales back with HBCU Gameday, and I'm here with Jamie Walker, football analyst, and Sylvester the sports guy Williams. And we're here to talk about the SIAC, do a little wrap up, a little recap. I guess we can start off with SIAC superlatives. We got the coach of the year, Chinesbury from Benedict. Offensive player of the year, David Wright from Allen University. Defensive player of the year, Lubert Danilius. Close enough. We'll take it. Close enough. Okay. From Benedict as well. Freshman of the year, Frederick Gaines from Albany State, and newcomer of the year, Brandon Marshall from Fort Valley State. What do you guys think? Thoughts?
Hey, set it off, Sly, because we've been chopping it up about this for a couple of days.
When it comes to superlatives, it comes to the end of the year awards, it's always a matter of opinion. You can never be right, or, they can never be right. I'm usually right, and I disagree.
Okay.
I disagree. I know we're going to get some people upset, but the coaches and the SIDs, I think, vote for these awards. And, supposedly, I don't like for the coaches to vote for them because the head coach is doing so many things. They're not analyzing on every single game. The SIDs, they got a plate full too. I think that, and it's because I'm in the media, people might say, oh, you just saying it, but I think the media should vote. And, we've had a bunch of our games of SIAC games on ESPN. And, we got a little private chat going around with the people who call the games, and we have these debates. And, and a lot of people somewhat disagree with some of these choices. Now, I'm going to speak for myself. I'm not going to speak for everybody else. I'm going to speak for me. And now for me, coach of the year, let's talk about this. Coach of the year, I think it should be Coach Keaton from Allen.
Chinesbury should not be the coach of the year.
And this is why. I know this is messed up. But sometime when you're a winner, he went 10-0 last year.
So we was expecting him to go 10-0.
He went 10-0 again. Did he improve?
Now, does that have anything to do with his roster? With the kids that he has on that roster, is it expected that he should have done what he did, and so therefore somebody else had to do something a little bit more prominent to become the coach of the year, is what you're saying?
I think he had great kids. Don't get me wrong. The kids, Allen, their athletic talent and their field IQ, their strength, everything, they are superior. It's a reason they're 10-0.
Right.
But a part of that formula is Chinesbury. Now let's not be mistaken at all. Chinesbury, he's the one who brings it all together. But I do think Coach Keaton has done more with less, and he has made the bigger strides. And that's what I think the coach of the year should be, who's made the biggest stride throughout the year. That's why I would say Coach Keaton at Allen.
Okay.
Me and Sly do not agree on many things, but we both agree on that one. Teddy Keaton, calling a couple of his games over the last few years, his intensity, his moxie, his swag, and you wouldn't think, he's a man of my own image. We both short and fat. You know what I'm saying? And so when it comes to just what he does and what he is and what he grows to be and what he wants to be when it comes to growing that program, I gave shouts to that whole brain trust, I think, on our last episode. But Teddy Keaton keeps all of that offensive knowledge in his brain. If you look at him on the sidelines, he is the orchestrator and creator of that offense. We talked about this before. I was able to interview him. And Coach Keaton has taken pieces out of every area. And anybody who's ever called offense before kind of knows that. You take bits and pieces out of coaches and stops you've been to before. But to know, and even with that, all of the coaches that he has on there, to know what's going on with that school and what they're trying to do and where they are. I remember a couple of years ago when he got hired and they finally started putting them into different things and they picked them to finish last and he was mad, like livid. And to see where they are now, beating people, I just think as great as Coach Berry is, I think if you gave a more deserving category, he would be it. But Teddy Keaton would be my pick as Coach of the Year.
Okay. Now the rest of the awards, any more anymore. You got some more. You're not finished.
I disagree with every single one of them.
Every single one. Okay,
Every single one of them.
David Wright from Allen University, the quarterback. He had an amazing season. Why is he not the offensive MVP player of the year?
All right. Now, when you break down David Wright's stats, he threw for officially. He threw for, what do we have, 3,019 yards. Now, they didn't include the Columbus State game with the official stats. So I guess if you added that in, he would have threw for 3,200 yards. Here's my problem. He had 19 touchdowns and 14 interceptions.
Okay.
Now, he slung the ball all over the field, and I called a couple of Allen games. I called 3 Allen games. And I'm willing to say 5 of those interceptions touched his receiver's hands before they were intercepted.
Hit him in the worst place.
Hit him in the worst place. Hit him in his hands. So yeah, those 14 interceptions were a little inflated, but there still are 14 interceptions. Now, if we go down to Jacksonville, to Edward Waters, and you look at Jaron Russell. Now, Jaron Russell, we look at his stats. He threw for 2,700 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. Still a little bit short on the total yardage, but he threw for 24 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. He had a better quarterback rating, a better completion percentage. He had a better year at quarterback. And in the modern football era, your quarterback is usually your MVP, especially when you don't have a 1,000-yard rusher in the conference. The quarterback's going to be the MVP. I think Russell from Edward Waters should have won MVP.
Man, you make a compelling case for Mr. Russell.
I tried.
But David Wright, man, listen, just the story. And again, I have to go back to Coach Keaton and everybody on that team. David Wright didn't complete the year last year. And I know it's a one-year award. I know it's for the present season. But for him to finish finally an entire season where you are asked to throw the ball as much as he is in that offense and be able to create a situation where this team is finally in contention. They're in the upper echelon of the SIAC. I think David Wright is the perfect choice for this offensive award. Please don't get it twisted, though. Jaron Russell was absolutely amazing.
Amazing.
I called the game on another network where he threw that Hail Mary pass. First of all, the first one he threw should have been caught. If you go back and analyze it. But the second one, he just has, like I said, he has the poise in the pocket. He is an absolute field general, always cool under any circumstance. But David Wright led this offense.
He did.
This offense, and finally, from start to finish, he was the man in this offense. So I can't deny it.
Hey, man, like David Wright had an awesome season. He did. And the good thing about it, man, I actually, during SIAC media days, when I pulled up into the parking lot, I actually met him. He was getting out of his car. Him and the Allen players were getting out of their car. And I got to talk to him before the SIAC media days. And I told him, hey, I'm expecting big things out of you guys. And he said, hey, man, we're going to do it. He said, this is the year we're going to do it. And that team lived up to the hype. Don't get me wrong. He is a player. I don't think he had a better year than Russell.
Well, yards, touchdowns, interceptions. All that is cool, but let's get to the defensive side. I'm not going to mess up Lubert's name again. I'm going to let them get to it. Lubert, was he Defensive Player of the Year?
And this is the hardest thing I'll have to do. This is the hardest thing I'll have to say. And I'm going to say no, he wasn't. And this is why I say no, he wasn't. His teammate should have been Defensive Player of the Year. Jaden Broughton had 22 tackles for a loss, first in the conference. He was second in the conference with 9.5 sacks. All right. Those numbers, now he was second behind Lubert. He was second behind Lubert. But those 22 tackles for a loss, he blew everybody out the water. And here's the problem with being good. Lubert is really, really good. So if you're really, really good, every defense game plans for you. He was double-teamed every play. They moved him inside the defensive tackle a lot. They tried to move him around to get him free. But wherever they moved him, he was double teamed. So if you double team him, Jaden Broughton was single blocked a lot this year. He was single blocked, man-on-man blocking, and he dominated. When you tried to block him man-on-man, you could not block this kid. You could not block him. And his numbers tell me that he should be the conference defensive player of the year. It's no slight to Lubert, but you ain't give me the same numbers. I'm a numbers guy.
I get it, and I get being a numbers guy, but like you just said, if Lubert isn't double teamed and all of these things are happening Lubert's way, does the other guy get the opportunities that he had?
Hey, it works like that sometimes. And I'm gonna talk about a guy who didn't get numbers. When we talk about the all SIAC teams, I'll talk about a guy who didn't get numbers, who didn't make first or second team. We'll talk about that later.
All right, so before we get there, was Lubert the defensive player of the year?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. The best player on the best defense in the league, in Division II. When you're talking about Lubert Danellis, him facing double teams every game is just a testament to the amount of hustle that you see from that young man. And Coach Berry talked about him as well being just that quiet leader. He just goes and plays. You're not going to get much out of him as far as talking, but he just lets his game show off everything that he is. He's been recognized nationally as that guy defensively, and I think he's well deserving of the SIAC. Now, Sly brought up some excellent points, and what I mean by that is Broughton, Aaron Miller, John Hannibal, Jaron Kilpatrick. You're talking about a defense that's absolutely complete, top to bottom, starting with that front seven, that you can rotate 7 to 8 guys on the defensive line alone. Just a phenomenal defense, but Lubert Danellis is still head and shoulders above anyone in this position.
I agree with you. I think he's better than everybody in the conference on defense. I think he is the best player in the conference on defense, but that doesn't make him my player of the year because
the numbers.
He didn't. The paper doesn't show me. My paper doesn't show my eyes, because I played football. I played on these levels. I've been out there. I know what it takes to be that guy. But I want to see some numbers too. I want LeBron, that guy, he still score. You know what I'm saying? I want to see some numbers.
Okay. We got freshman of the year coming up. Frederick Gaines from Albany State. Is he the freshman of the year?
No, not at all.
So you don't like any of these picks? Can we go ahead and get that out the way? Do you not like any of these picks?
Sly contrarian.
I'm a contrarian. Somebody got to be the guy to go against the grain.
But every one of them, though?
Every single one of them. Every single one of them.
Well, let's get to it. Frederick Gaines, Albany State. Who do you have?
I have another Benedict Tiger. I have my young man, Joshua Barker. Joshua Barker had 7.5 sacks, 12 tackles for a loss. The man was a force. I don't even want to call him a kid. He's an 18-year-old man. Yeah. He's a man down there. And this was and he didn't even start. He didn't even start. He was a guy who just was a man. If you look at like last year's winner, Vincent Hill from Tuskegee, you know, he's a guy from South Fulton County down there, Creekside High School. He was an impact guy. Vincent didn't lead the conference in tackles. I don't know if he led the team in tackles last year. I'm not sure. But he was an impact guy, and he changed the game for Tuskegee. Joshua Barker changed the game for Benedict. Not even starting and still putting up numbers like that. I think he was 4th in the conference in tackle for losses. No, he was 4th in sacks and like 5th or 6th in tackles for losses. That's what you want out your defensive lineman, you know, to dominate the way he dominated. I thought he should have been freshman of the year.
I'm going to go with my man Gaines, and only because probably I slant towards offense just a little bit. You're talking about that team that had a major transition in how they operated in football. If he was under the old regime, he would have gotten more touches. But give them credit. You're talking about a team that got to basically the promised land of the SIAC, but yet he still showed off. And I think he demonstrated why he got contention anyway. I think when you're talking about gains and being able to run the football at a freshman level and being able to just do what he did inside, outside, and just get the yards that he was able to get, I think that was the perfect person for freshman of the year. Now, I'm going to give some kudos to some other people as well.
Go ahead.
Caden High from Benedict.
Yes.
Now, you talking about a receiving core that went through some transition as well. He showed off, especially in the back half of the year, and was that reliable guy for Aeneas Dennis. So that's another name out there. But if you're going to go with gains, I like the pick.
Okay. And we got newcomer of the year, Fort Valley State's Brandon Marshall. You're obviously not going to like this pick either.
Of course you don't.
You're obviously not going to like this pick either. Tell us why, though.
Hey, man, I can't have my newcomer of the year, and I want to pull this up right here. I want to pull this up so I don't say the wrong thing. Brandon Marshall, excellent year. Excellent year. He ran for 893 yards.
He led the league in rushing.
8 touchdowns, second in the league in rushing, second. Duke, I can't even say his last name.
Duhart, DeAndre.
No. Kalen.
Oh, Kalen Duke from Lane.
Yeah, from Lane.
Okay.
I can't say it. I didn't call any Lane name. Any Lane games. I don't know how to say his last name. But he was second in the league in rushing. Marshall had a really, really good year. Don't get me wrong. I do not want anyone to think that he didn't have a good year. But he didn't rush for 1,000 yards. Now, if we're looking for a newcomer, Aeneas Dennis. He got 2 first names. I threw him off.
Yeah,
He threw me off. Sorry about that, Dennis family. But anyway, if you look what he did at Benedict, as a man, he came to the team 2 weeks before the season started. They didn't know, 2 weeks before the season started is when he showed, 2 weeks before camp. 2 weeks before camp is when he showed up. And he took the reins, and they ran like a smooth oil machine. They just ran the same way. He put up numbers, and I think he had a better season statistically than Phoenix did last year. He put up better numbers than Phoenix did last year. So he did everything you want out of a quarterback plus a little bit more, and his team was undefeated. To me, he gets the Newcomer of the Year award for me because of his offensive output, what he did.
Listen, I guess we are bookending our agreements because I fully agree with you as Newcomer of the Year when it comes to Aeneas Dennis. You have to look at, you're talking about an undefeated squad with a quarterback who was phenomenal in Eric Phoenix, was able to, run that offense to their standards, be able to use both his arms and legs. But 2 weeks before the season, before camp starts, Coach Berry talked about, we'll have a signal call. He thought he had one on the roster at that point. Here comes Mr. Dennis coming in and being able to change the way they run offense totally. And what I mean by that is, and I talked about it before, they changed some things before as far as implementing new things, such as more motion. They were able to go downfield a little more with their receiving core. We'd already talked about them. I think Aeneas Dennis being able to come in, grasp the offense, and do what he does as far as knowing when to throw the ball, when not to, when to use his legs, when to get down. Those kind of subtle nuances that a quarterback has, he was able to come in and just run this offense better than they did the year before. Better. I can safely say that. That offense runs well with him at the helm, and I think he would be my Newcomer of the Year as well.
I think so. That's who I would go. But I'm not as mad with the Brandon Marshall pick as I am with some of the others. The Brandon Marshall is well deserving of the Newcomer of the Year. But I just think that Dennis had a better year. So,
well, I guess we don't have any more picks for you to not like. But we do have the Elite 14 GPA award. Jude Servius from Tuskegee. Shout out to you, 4.0 GPA.
Congratulations to that young man. I definitely can't say anything about him.
Hey, I don't know nothing about no 4.0s. But moving along. This is sports show here. Sports show, y'all. Sports show. We not here to talk about GPAs. moving along, championship weekend was last weekend. Of course, Benedict comes out, gets the win. Rainy, cold. How was the game?
I went there. I was there. Shout out to the fans. Shout out to the fans from Albany State and Benedict. I like to tell people those are true fans. Those fans who showed up to that game, they're true fans because it was one of those days. It wasn't like that hard rain. If you got that hard rain, you can put your umbrella up, and you can just tough it out. But it had that little misting rain, and the wind was whipping, what made it a lot more cold. And they didn't sell hot chocolate in the concession stand. We need to talk about somebody. You need some hot chocolate in the concession stand, but that's a whole nother story. But those fans showed up, so shout out to all those fans. And it was a nice crowd too. It wasn't, it was a nice crowd. I thought the rain would have scared, a lot more people away. But we talk about this all the time. Me and Jamie, we talk about this when it comes to Benedict, the way Benedict plays once you make that mistake. Once you make that mistake, Benedict will not let you live it down. Now, Jamie, you mentioned something last week. You said how Benedict has been having those slow starts.
Yes.
I thought that was going to be another thing last week in the championship game, because they were driving and Dennis got the ball tipped and it was an interception. But Albany State couldn't capitalize on it. They couldn't capitalize on that interception. Benedict, that's a 3-0 game, I think, 3-0 game. Benedict has the ball. Bad snap, or I'm not quite sure, whatever, but Albany State held them to a 3-and-out. They came in, punting unit, Picarillo was there to punt, roughing the punter. 3 plays later, 60-yard touchdown pass, Dennis to Caden High. And that's when the onslaught started.
I guess that's when the floodgates open.
That's when the floodgates open.
And again, we talked about them capitalizing on other people's mistakes. When you make something like that, when you make those stops, and give credit to the Dirty Blue, the score was not indicative of what that defense of Albany State actually played, because they played Benedict well, especially in the first half. But when your offense can't move, I think they didn't get a first down until nearly halftime.
0 yards passing the first half. 0. Goose egg.
You can't win. You cannot win. And I said something at towards halftime, because I think that's when Albany State was able to get on the board again. They tried to switch quarterbacks, and they've done so all year. But it was kind of a iffy sequence in that they were running the football and using the quarterback run to kind of set up everything. And I said to myself then, if they're one-dimensional and that's all they're doing, it's going to be a long day, a long rest of the day, and that's what ended up happening. Because when you're one-dimensional against that Benedict defense, it's lights out. They're going to stop what you do well and make you go to what you don't. And that's exactly what happened.
Who had the biggest games that you saw? Where obviously the quarterback had a great game from Benedict, but was there anything that happened unexpectedly for you?
Well, I don't want to say it was anything that happened unexpectedly, because they basically did what everybody thought. I mean, shouts out to Albany State or Albany. Albany. Shouts out to them. They had a I don't want to say a good season. They had a decent season. They started off rough, but then they worked their way back into contention, and they made it to the conference championship game. So shouts out to them. Shouts out to Quinn Gray and what he's done down there. All right, but then they were just a better team. And I think everybody knew coming in Benedict would win by 3 touchdowns. I mean, you can say things to be nice and to be sweet, but everybody knew Benedict was going to win by 3 touchdowns. They did what they were supposed to do. You say the game was closer than what it was. I think it should have. You're in the fourth quarter, the backup quarterback was in, and he literally threw a touchdown pass, hit the receiver in his hands in the end zone, and the kid dropped it, and he got an interception. The other kid intercepted it. I'm talking about they hit him dead in his hands, and he got in. That should have been another 7 points on the board for Benedict.
I thought the game would be a little closer. Now, I figured, Benedict would win decisively, but I thought going into this game, riding the momentum of winning the Fountain City Classic, that Albany State would play a little better. And that defense just it was playing really at its optimum peak at that point. But I guess playing Fort Valley, they were up for that game. And the defense is still formidable, don't get me wrong. But I think that juggernaut in Benedict was too much for them to handle, especially when your offense is giving you nothing. It's hard to continue going out there, having to stop a squad who can both run it and pass it, and you're not getting anything from your offense. So I think eventually that's what took its toll.
And we got all conference teams.
Okay, yeah.
All conference teams. I think we done with the championship game, right? I don't think it's much more.
It
wasn't much to talk about there, right? Like 47-10 blowout, cold, rainy, no hot chocolate. Let's get my guy some hot chocolate, please. Next year, can we get him some hot chocolate? Nonetheless.
Hot chocolate in the concession stand.
In the concession stand, please. No, wait. You're the official taste tester of the tailgate. Did they get out there and tailgate early in the morning for the 1 o'clock?
When I saw that it was raining hard by my house before the game started, I said, hey, I'm not even bothered showing up that early. But I got there. I got to the game. The game was 1 o'clock kickoff. I think I got there about 11:45, something around that area. I went straight to the stadium, and straight inside, straight to the press box,
straight to the media entrance. Not standing in line or nothing.
Not at all. We'll see you next week, Benedict. We'll see you at Charlie Johnson Stadium. Hopefully, it'll be better in Columbia.
Hopefully, they'll get out there and tailgate. Nonetheless, let's get to these all conference teams. Do you have? Are you gonna
somebody got to be a contrarian. Everybody it can't be roses and tulips and everything. And somebody got to have something to disagree with. Now,
are you going to disagree with everything again? No?
Not everything. I like a lot of the calls. I like what they did with naming a lot of these players, and a lot of these kids are well deserved. And as I look at the all conference teams, I don't really see anybody I would want to take off the all-conference team. Okay. I don't see anybody I would want to take off. But they are some kids who I think maybe were on second team, should have been on first. And there were some kids who were left off that, it's a tough world. It's a tough world. Somebody got to be left off. And, first of all, I don't believe in runner-up trophies anyway. So okay. I'm one of those that shouldn't even be a second team.
Real old school with it.
Yeah, if you ain't make first team, sorry for you.
Yeah, that's your loss.
But, oh, well, man, I think one guy who was on second team, DeQuan Kinley, running back from Clark. He was no, he didn't make it at all.
No.
He didn't make it at all. And I thought he had a really good season. He had 10 touchdowns, 660-something yards, strong runner. And if you look at some of the stats at some of the other people, he had more yardage than Duhart. Duhart's a good back, and Duhart had to split carries, a lot with Scotland. So, but if we look at numbers, he had a better season.
But is that to say that if Scott wasn't splitting carries, that he wouldn't have had more yards than numbers? Just numbers? Just numbers.
He said he was a numbers guy.
He said he was a numbers guy.
He did.
But he got to get rid of them numbers, though, because it's a lot of things that go into that, right? No?
Shoulda, coulda, woulda, if I was 50 pounds lighter, I'd be dating Holly Berry right now. But I'm not, So, hey, shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Okay.
It don't happen like that. But I think Kinley from Clark, Atlanta was one of those ones. I think he should have been on. They had Jaquez Jones. Jaquez Jones was our second team. He was second team wide receiver. Here's a guy, he led the conference in receiving yards. But he only had 4 touchdowns. But I think he should have been one of the first team all conference receivers.
Sounds like he's only numbers sometimes.
Well, no, he led the conference.
But with only 4 touchdowns, you got to make the play in the end zone. That's what matters as a wide receiver, right?
He played in lane.
Not a lot of end zone.
Not a lot of end zone.
Okay.
Somebody who was left off the team, Malik Moore, linebacker from Tuskegee.
Okay.
75 total tackles. I want to say he was top 5 in the league in tackles. Definitely top 10. I'm not 100% sure. 4 sacks, couple of tackles for a loss. He's a guy. He's at least a second team all-conference guy for me, but he was completely left off. Another guy completely left off, that freshman I keep talking about, Josh Barker. Josh Barker left off of the all-conference team, first and second team. And here's a guy, he had better numbers than everybody on the team, everybody on second team at least. He had better numbers than all of those guys, but he was completely left off. We talked about numbers, and sometime if you don't put up the numbers, you're not going to make the team. And a guy from Benedict, Haywood, the cornerback from Benedict, Haywood, he is the legit NFL prospect for Benedict. He's about 6'1", 6'2", cornerback, legit clock, 4.4 speed, 4.4 flat speed, lockdown corner. Here's the problem with being a lockdown corner. If you're the best corner in the league,
nobody's throwing your way.
Nobody throws at you.
You on an island over there.
So he doesn't have a lot of pass breakups. He doesn't have a lot of interceptions because nobody's throwing at him. He has his man covered. So he didn't make all conference. Kind of sucks, but he's one of those kids I would say, maybe he should have got a look at an all conference player.
Jamie Walker, football analyst.
You know what? I think, Sly kind of broke it all down as far as individuals. I think he has a very compelling case for Daquan Kinsey of Clark Atlanta, because if you look at that young man run, really if you look at everything in that team in totality, especially offensively, Kinsey might have been I'm not going to say he's the only one because they had a nice 1-2 punch, but he was 75-80% of what they did because they didn't get too much out of the passing game. They switch QBs and switch coaches for that matter.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So those offensive minds, although Coach Moncrief was already, calling the offense for them, but Daquan Kinsey kind of was that person who showed himself to be outstanding in a team that didn't do very well. So that's all I got. That's all I got. I think the cases for it, when you're talking about these kind of teams, there are a bunch of people that's going to always be left out. Yeah. You're talking about the two quarterbacks in John Russell and David Wright. Of course, you can make a compelling argument for Aeneas Dennis as well. The numbers may not be as far as passing yardage where those two are, but if you're talking about a signal caller who led his team clearly to an undefeated season, hey, he should be right there.
Still leading them today.
Absolutely.
If he's still leading them today, that means he probably should have made one of the teams. Huh?
Indeed.
They're still playing. Everybody else is packed up.
At the yard.
Anyways, I want to thank y'all for coming, but before we go, you have a challenge.
I do.
You have a challenge for Benedict?
I do.
Well, let's get to it.
Hey, look, which one? I need you right here on me. I need you right here on me.
You need a camera.
Here you go. Listen, this is to all you Benedict fans. And not only Benedict fans, I'm going to extend this to all you other HBCU fans. Benedict has had 2 undefeated regular seasons in a row. They get a first-round bye in the playoffs, and they will be playing a home game at Charlie W. Johnson Stadium. That stadium needs to be jam-packed next Saturday. I'm talking about standing room only. I'm talking about packed in so tight as make a new friend Saturday. That's how tight you need to be packed into that stadium on Saturday. Those kids deserve that for what they have put in, the way they have represented that school on and off the field. Benedict needs those fans there. Last year, I was really disappointed in that turnout from last year. And I'm saying disappointed because it's a PG show. So I'm not going to say what I want to say. But you HBCU fans, you Benedict fans need to be at that stadium. And not only be at the stadium, this is the one that's going to get me in trouble. You need to be at that stadium, and you need to be at that stadium in purple and gold. Packed out purple and gold. I don't care about your fraternity. I don't care about your sorority. I don't want to see any blue and white either side. I don't want to see red and black. I don't want to see crimson and cream. I don't want to see royal blue and gold or black and gold. That stadium needs to look like the Omega Psi Phi conclave. I'm not sure if that's what they call it, but whatever. That stadium needs to be jam-packed, purple and gold. Purple and gold, jam-packed, 2 weeks. You got 2 weeks to find you a baby. Don't even find a babysitter. Bring the kids with you. That's more people. But you need to find a way to get there. Reserve your Uber right now. Reserve your hotel to get to Benedict and pack out that stadium to support those Benedict Tigers in that second-round playoff game. I'm serious. I'm dead serious.
As somebody that's part of the Blue Fi crew.
Hey, I don't want to see any blue. I don't want to see blue nor white.
Yes, we want crowd there at Charlie W. Johnson Stadium. Along with that, there's nothing going on in Columbia.
Nothing.
In Orangeburg. There's
Wherever
nothing
they
going on. Wofford. Nothing going on anywhere else.
Columbia, South Carolina.
Descend upon it.
If you live in North Carolina, hour drive from the border.
Make the trip.
Georgia, Atlanta, it's a 3-hour drive from Atlanta. Wherever. Alabama, you ain't doing nothing in Alabama. Come on over. Virginia. CIAA, y'all not used to good football. Come on down to Columbia. Oh man, that might get somebody mad. That might get somebody. Let me stop.
Oh man,
I might get somebody mad.
Well,
come on down to Columbia, South Carolina.
Pastor Sly with the jacket on.
Wipe off.
You got the handkerchief right there. You get
wipe my head off, man. I'm telling you, I'm
passionate about that. You passionate about these fans coming out, huh?
I'm dead serious because James.
We called the game last year.
It wasn't.
It wasn't what it should have been.
Nah, let's be honest.
But you talked about it. You talked about it last week though. This is a newer winning team. They're newer to winning.
Yes.
New culture, new traditions. But they got to start at some point, right? They got to start at some point.
Next Saturday is the day you start. That stadium should be. I think it seats 10,000 people. 10,000 people. I need to see 9,999 Benedict fans there. Maybe one fan from whoever they play.
Predictions for the games.
Before we
go.
I guess for the two that count, Virginia Union against Kutztown.
Mm-hmm. Kutztown
they're a good squad.
Yeah, Kutztown's a good squad. This isn't a typical Kutztown year that they usually have. They're a little bit down. I think it's going to be I think this could be a high-scoring game, could be explosive. Both teams, you got Jada Byers. Jada Byers runs that ball. He was hurt. Jada missed a couple of games.
Yeah, no, he's back though. He's back.
But he's still. I know he rushed for 1,000. I'm not sure if he got 1,200. I'm not sure. I know he got over 1,000 again. So I think this game might be a quick game. It might be under 2 hours.
Because both squads do run the football.
It might go. But I do like the kids from Virginia. I think this is the year that HBCU teams are going to make some noise because you got that healthy Virginia Union squad now. All of them are back. They're ready to go. I think this could be something special for Virginia. And then Benedict, we don't know who they're going to play. I'm kind of, I need to go to Vegas and check the books, but I don't know who's favorite. But I think Lenore-Ryan is the better team because they definitely have a 1,000-yard rusher. They like to run the ball. They don't care if it's dirty. They're going to run it straight at you. And they have two very capable quarterbacks. One quarterback, I think, got hurt early in the year, and so they end up playing two quarterbacks for most of the year, and both of them had decent seasons. I think they both threw for over 1,000 yards. So I think I would shade toward Lenore-Ryan just a little bit more so they can come on to Columbia and get this butt cut.
You good?
I'm good. Because I think there's a lot of nuance when it comes to both of these squads. I think Kutztown had to do their thing to get in the dance at the end. But they're a good squad, the fighting Andre Reeds. Virginia Union having to kind of go out of their region to go to Pennsylvania, of course, because of travel. I think it'll be different. It'll be interesting. I would love to know what the weather's going to be. Going forward. I don't know that right offhand, but I think they bring a cold weather game offensively with them. They do. Being able to run Jada Byers from New Jersey, if I'm not mistaken. He's run in that kind of environment before, and I'm sure he will have relatives there at that game. I am hoping that, and not even afraid to say it, I'm hoping they win that ball game. But you're talking about going to an opponent's home. Virginia Union has sprung upsets before. Mm-hmm. They beat Valdosta, last year. So they're game for it. I'm hoping they pull that out. And as far as Lenore Ryan and Shepherd is concerned, whoever is better for Benedict to beat, I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
Okay. Well, I think that wraps it up. Shout out them boys from Virginia, man. Y'all know where I'm from. 2 up, 2 down. Shout out them boys from Union, my guys. Good luck to y'all. And then Benedict is cool, I guess. But no, I'm playing. We'll see what happens there. But, we appreciate y'all. We appreciate y'all coming back for a second week. Great SIAC wrap up. Hopefully we get to do this again, maybe if Benedict continues and all things go as planned.
Absolutely.
But we'll see.
I don't have anything to do.
I'll be right here in Atlanta, so we'll see. Thank y'all for coming back to HBCU Game Day. That's a wrap from your Atlanta studio.